Yeah, like I said, it was going to take something special to beat Arsenal today, and Liverpool just always find a way, especially at Anfield. Here are the match stats, but let's have a listen to what the managers had to say after the game.
If we play this game 10 times more in the same fashion, then I think it's 8 times a draw. We win it 1 time and Arsenal wins it 1 time because it was an uneventful game, which is something sometimes positive as well, because both teams were really good in rest defense and in defending. But I think normally Arsenal and us are able to create more chances during a game.
We didn't do our game plan to frustrate them. We did it to win it. I think we elevated the game and the dominance to a point that they have to raise it. They did, especially from the 60 to 78. When then you could see that there were no margins in the game, and then when that happens, the game is going to be decided in 2 ways. 1, with an individual error, and 2, with a magic moment. And so was like created a moment that it was incredible, that has won in the game, and that was the difference, nothing else.
All right, well, let's welcome in our Julien Laurens as well, who was taking that game in. But starting off in studio, Craig, I think Ale Moreno was the only one that dared to choose a win in this one. And as you heard from the managers, there was not much to separate them. It was going to take a moment of magic, and Liverpool got it. Yeah, they did.
Arne Slot's right, it was pretty uneventful. I mean, Arsenal lost William Saliba 5 minutes in. That wasn't ideal, but it didn't really affect them too much. In a sense that they controlled a lot. Up to half-time, they were the side to me that looked as if the shape was better, the control of the passing was better, they controlled the tempo better than Liverpool, who I think were a bit rushed in the first half, but didn't really create a lot, you know. And whenever Madueke got running at Kerkez, he looked a problem, because one thing Madueke does, as soon as he gets it to feet, he drives at defenders. And in all fairness, Kerkez, who's had a tough start to the season, you know, and there was that one ball over the top where Madueke outpaced him, but somehow Kerkez got back in. So he did okay against him, but Madueke was the outball for Arsenal when the outball should have been the other side. How can you have Arsenal's worst player on the day, you can debate that, but and most ineffective player on the day in Gabriel Martinelli when he's playing against a makeshift right back? You should have been ramming that ball down his throat. Into his feet, isolating them. Don't put anybody else in. Let's isolate Szoboszlai. Get the ball to Martinelli and let him run at him. Right? And Arsenal did not do that. For some reason, they did not. They went down the other side when it was a good contest, but they should have gone to the left-hand side. And then, in my view, in the second half, Liverpool were the dominant side, where Arsenal were in the first half. But I think it's crystal clear that Madueke can come in and do a good job, but they're going to have to get Eze into this side, or something different, something better than they have on the left-hand side, because that really was a weak area for them today. I was hopeful that Arteta would have made his subs a little earlier. I think the game was getting away from him. Liverpool made the first sub, but I think it was getting away from him way before he made the substitution. That being said, you know, they lost to a world-class free kick, but yeah, I think for the control Arsenal had in the first half, I was just expecting a little bit more in the final third. I didn't really see it. And Gyökeres, we were talking about it, in some sense you feel a bit sorry for him. And he looks clunky and he looks ungainly at the moment. But it's almost like they've got this jigsaw. And they've got a piece of this jigsaw that they haven't had for a while. Because he's different. And they don't know how to fit it into the jigsaw. It's not quite fitting at the moment, because here you've got a guy that wants balls into the box so you can go and attack it, and he's not getting it. And he's also faced 2 of the biggest, strongest defenders in the league in his first 3 games. Matthijs de Ligt, who played him well at Old Trafford, and Ibrahim Konate, who was all over him today. So it has not been an easy start for him, but it was a great free kick that won it. But, you know, I think Arsenal have to go away and look at how they get more out of their better players in the final third.
Stevie, I know you're happy with this win.
Listen, in terms of the result, it's a fantastic victory for Liverpool. And I've got to say, and I didn't think I would be saying this, but it was really built on what the back line did defensively. You know, all the way from the start of the season to this game, the worry was, how's this back line going to cope against Arsenal? Well, I guess not only their great play, but the fact that Arsenal was so blunt. I mean, yes, to the eye, they dominated the first half. But other than Madueke, that one shot, Alisson had nothing to do.
Yeah.
You know, the game actually was boring. Let's be honest. Everything from both sides, even when Liverpool did get it, if they actually managed to hold on to it, it was sideways or backwards. Or they gave it away. I mean, that was Liverpool's first half. And Arsenal will be disappointed with the amount of ball they had to the amount of opportunities they created, because they just didn't create anything. And then it kind of switched completely to the second half. Liverpool had all the possession, all the domination, but again, Liverpool couldn't produce anything either. So that's why I'm saying Liverpool's victory is absolutely on that one piece of magic, but the biggest part of it is the defence, particularly set pieces. Yeah. You know, an Arsenal team that had nine corners, and they never once looked dangerous because Liverpool handled it the way you should. You know, there's three key things you do with a team like Arsenal in corners. You have to, number one, get the right players in the right position, which they did. They had the four tallest players, Gravenberch, Ekitike, Van Dijk and Konate, all along the 6-yard box. And they had everybody else just picking people up, trying to put them off. Second part is desire. It's all about winning the ball. If you have the desire to win the ball, it doesn't matter how good the opposition are at set pieces. If you've got your four big guys and the desire is there, then that's it. And then the most important part when you play Arsenal, when they do get a corner or a set piece, don't panic. Don't panic before they even put the ball in. Just be calm. And when you're calm, you make good decisions. And Liverpool defensively today got all the defensive decisions correct.
Jules, how did you see it? As Stevie said, we saw some good defending, especially from Liverpool. But apart from the free kick, it was pretty much a boring game when we were expecting a blockbuster.
I don't think it was boring. I thought it was quite interesting tactically, and the boys summed it up quite well. I think it was a battle for control, especially in that midfield, and Arsenal were very good at that in the first half. It's just hard to try to control 90 minutes against Liverpool, especially at Anfield. And in the second half, Liverpool, especially I thought when Curtis Jones came on and replaced McAllister, was a bit disappointed. But Jones brought a bit more of that energy, verticality, even Gravenberch. And the free kick comes from that verticality, the ball from Van Dijk that we didn't really see much until that point. For Jones on the turn, then forcing Zubimendi to make the foul. I'm still not sure he needs to make that foul, and then it's a great free kick. Obviously, there wasn't much, and a draw probably would have been fairer. But you win titles and trophies when you find a way of winning those kind of games, and that's what Liverpool did last season. Because at times they had to find solutions, which they did in a way or another, Salah or something else, and this time they did it again.
Too much of a muchness in the Arsenal midfield today. Zubimendi, tidy, links play up. He's never going to get the headlines, but you know he's playing those 10 and 15-yard passes. That's fine. He's dropping into the back four and he's linking the play up. But you know Rice will pass. You know Rice every now and again does something spectacular like he did in the Champions League with the free kicks. But generally he's a fetcher and he'll carry and he'll run with the ball. And Moreno, kind of the same. He's tidy on the ball. He'll get in the box to try and get on the end of things if they get crosses in. So they're all kind of much of a muchness. And I know, you know, Martin Odegaard had a shoulder issue. I don't know how. Obviously, they didn't feel that he could play him from the start. We can have a debate about shouldn't you start him and then if you've got to take him off because if you're fit to be on the bench, blah, blah, blah. I think Eze can play that role as well, but he's just in the door and they needed something different in the middle of the park. For all that possession they had in the first half and they were very tidy on the ball, they needed somebody that when they played those 4 or 5 passes and they broke the Liverpool midfield, could play that pass, could slot that ball in between Van Dijk and Kerkez or Konate and Szoboszlai. They didn't really have it. They just went out wide and they gave Liverpool enough time to get bodies back in or make a challenge. And whether it was fitness or whatever, they just had too much of a similar type of player today in the middle of the park. And they didn't have some, for me, Arsenal that could unlock a defence. And saying that,
it was so obvious.
The guy that was doing it the guy that's supposed to be that guy for Liverpool isn't exactly hitting the heights either. Florian Wirtz. Yeah. I mean, it's been a little bit of a struggle for him coming into English football. But from Arsenal's perspective, they just needed. I felt as they had a lot of control early on in this game, they needed something a little bit different between that threesome in midfield to what they had. and it was a little bit predictable.
Stevie, what did you make of Wirtz and how, I suppose, Arne Slot can get the best out of him now?
Well, I'm thinking, how long does Arne Slot continue to put up with Wirtz's invisibility, shall we say? I mean, I would love to see. I mean, he's lost possession 11 times. I mean, seriously, and kind of got to the stage now when he's getting it, and you're thinking he's going to lose it. You know, when he's getting it, you're not going, great, they've got him on the ball, something's going to happen, because he's not producing anything whatsoever. So Arne Slot is going to have to think, how long does he continue to put up with Wirtz not contributing? Because he certainly doesn't contribute defensively. And when he's not contributing going forward, you can't get away with it so much. And you're certainly going to have a problem when Szoboszlai is going to be moved from right back, because the way he's playing and what he's producing, whether it's at full back or in the middle of the park, way outweighs what Florian Wirtz is doing. So eventually, Arne Slot is going to have to make a decision.
I mean, it's early days. I would hasten to hazard a guess that 95% of the Liverpool fans probably, at minimum, don't watch the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
So they won't know. They'll have heard of Florian Wirtz. Yeah. They may have seen him play for the national team the odd time, probably not.
They watch the highlights, but again, those are highlights.
Liverpool fans, like most fans, are very focused on their own side.
Yeah.
And so they'll have seen all the fanfare about this player coming in, and rightly so. Him and Musiala were the best creative players in German football. However, Liverpool, the supporters have no interest what he did at Bayer Leverkusen. And so that adds a little bit of pressure when you've got the fan base kind of like sitting, you know, maybe moaning and groaning a little bit when as he gave the ball away a few times, like Stevie mentioned 11 times. So that adds a pressure to a player when he comes in as a bit of an unknown to Liverpool fans, which he is, not unknown to all of us, but to the fan base. And he starts in a very, I'll be nice, a very mediocre way for somebody who's supposed to be a superstar. So listen, there's loads of time to turn it round. But Liverpool have options in there. And what is he, the most expensive player in English football, or certainly Liverpool's history? It's a big pressure on your shoulders. So I think the transition from Germany to England for a lot of players has not been easy. And at the moment, he's finding it a little difficult going from Bayer Leverkusen to Liverpool and harnessing the same type of performances.
Well, Jules, I'm sure Arne Slot, of course, has to figure out how he gets the best out of Wirtz, but also Mikel Arteta kind of has to figure out, as Craig pointed out, how to get the best out of Gyökeres so far.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it was tough for both number 9s really today. Kitike, I think, had 2 passes and 8 touches, 1 in the Arsenal box. It was not much more for Gyökeres, as we see here on the stats. He lost the ball a lot, 5 passes only, and nothing really in terms of being at the end of something created for him. So we go back to the point that Craig made earlier, which is right, lack of creativity, especially with that midfield. And Madueke is good at taking on players, but the end product is often missing, really, and Martinelli is out of confidence at the moment. When Eze and Odegaard came on, you saw a little bit more of what could happen, really, when Saka is going to be back and Eze is going to be ready to start and be influential in that team. Plus, Odegaard and Gyökeres need all of that, really. And I still think that today, the way the two teams approached it and that battle in midfield that we mentioned, it was always going to be difficult for any number 9s on either side, really. So we need a bit more. But if you look at the United game and the Liverpool game, both away, both really difficult fixtures, obviously, for Gyökeres. It's true that, you know, you expect more from him going further in the season.
Stevie, what did you make of Arsenal's tactics as well? Because Jules was talking about it earlier when we said that the game was boring, but Jules said he actually found it interesting because of the tactics. You had a little chuckle there. But what did you make of the Gunners' tactics today?
Well, I find it interesting that he comes out and says that we came to win the game, when we've just pointed out that there's nobody in the middle of the park that's a creative football player. So how are you going to go and win the game when you don't have anybody to create anything? And you don't have anybody to supply your goal scorer. You go out and spend a lot of money on a goal scorer. In order for him to score goals, you have to give him service. You have to create opportunities for your centre forward, for your goal scorer to win games. So when you don't have anybody on your team who's actually going to do that, then don't be surprised.
But I think Odegaard
you don't score goals.
I think Odegaard, it was more of a fitness issue from his
But then why didn't he play Eze then?
Well, he's not long in the door. I don't think he feels he's quite ready.
Did come on, but
Danny and I had this argument, right? And the only reason he didn't play Eze is because it's Arteta. It's because of the coach. But which I understand. He's only been in the door for many days and the rest of it.
He played in the Community Shield and he played in the Chelsea game. So he's had two games.
But Craig, don't come out and he comes out and says we came to win the game. Well, you didn't. If you'd come to win the game, then you would have played Eze, or at least you would have played Winieri. People that want to go forward, people that want to create and score goals. That's kind of what irritates me. You know, why don't you just come out and say, look, we wanted to be strong, but we wanted to try and get forward when we could. But don't come out and say we came to win the game when it's just not true. It's just not. I knew he wouldn't play Eze, but he should have played Eze.
I mean, it's crystal clear that Martinelli's not going. It's crystal clear Martinelli's not going to be the answer on that left-hand side. He's had his good periods. Every now and again he'll do something with his pace in behind, but he's just not consistent enough, or anywhere near consistent enough, I think, to hold down a position. If Arsenal want to win the title, they need to make sure they need to have Saka fit, or if he's not fit, he's backed up properly by Madueke. And they need to get Eze into the team. And they need to keep Odegaard fit and make sure he's performing on the high level, at a high level on the big games, which you could argue he didn't do last year. But they need to get Eze into the team because he's something different.
Yeah.
He gives fullbacks something to think about. He'll go outside you. He's got a little bit of pace. He can drop a shoulder. You saw that at the end when he went down the touchline. And the ball got stuck under his feet a little bit, otherwise he was away. So he can go both ways, but he gives you, as a fullback, he gives you food for thought because he'll sort of narrow himself. He'll come inside a little bit into that position where you think, am I going to go with him there or not? Because he's clever and he can get turned, he can create things, he can score a goal, he can see a pass. That's why they've signed him. They need to get him into the side because they need to have creative players to feed the number 9 in particular that they've brought in, who was scoring a bunch of goals in Portugal. He's got one already, well, one in the league anyway, which was the home game against Leeds. They need to get him operating and get him operating fast to get his confidence going. And you don't get time in this league. That's the thing. You don't get time. You know, before you know it, you're behind the 8 ball. So it's early in the season, but already, you know, Arne Slot's has some food for thought early in the season with his defensive issues. And I think Mikel Arteta has it in the other area of the pitch is how am I going to get the best out of these players so that we can create chances and put them in the back of the net.
Jules, what do you make of what the boys are saying about getting Eberechi Eze more involved in Mikel Arteta's team now and his system and what he wants this season? Do you feel he's ready for it now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we discussed it with Stevie on Friday night. I thought he was going to start today, and Stevie, to be fair, was right by saying he's just arrived. Even if we say now he should have started, but Stevie was saying he's just arrived. This is a tough game to start away, Anfield, which is true. And I think this is part of the reason why he didn't start. I think you saw when he came on, he just asked different questions to Szoboszlai, in this case, to the defence, even Joe Gomez, then when he came on too, compared to Martinelli, as we said, who's lost confidence a bit and had one goal in the first half, and then that was it pretty much. So Eze will have to be influential and will become influential for this team in his own style and profile. He needs the right fullback to play behind him because obviously he plays on that left-hand side but comes inside a lot because he's not really a left winger. So he needs the right guy, whether that's Calafiori or Lewis Kelly or Hincapié if he does come to Arsenal. Arteta will have to find again. We go back to this jigsaw that we were mentioning since the start of the season, and Craig mentioned again tonight, of finding the right pieces and who fits where and how and when, and how you just feed all those players, and Saka and Odegaard and Gyökeres and Eze. Why is your midfield behind that? Why is the best at left back, etc., etc. And there is a bit of time, but not so much time that they will need to figure out pretty quickly.
I'm seeing a very early season serious breach of contradiction rules here. Stevie was arguing with Jules a few days ago why Eze wouldn't play because it was a big game, and now he's blaming Arteta today for Eze not playing.
See, this is what happens when you don't actually hear a conversation and then you think you know what the conversation was. I said Eze wouldn't play because Arteta would be the stubborn one. Arteta's the one that would come out with well, he doesn't know everybody. He doesn't understand the way we play. He's not ready. It's Anfield.
So you think
it's
he
a
should
big
have played?
game. Of course he should have played.
Right.
I'm delighted he didn't play. But I told Dan, particularly Dan and Jules, that he wouldn't start. And I did say he should start. And I told you the reasons why he wouldn't start. And that's what Jules was talking about.
Jules, do we know what the issue was with Saliba?
He rolled his ankle before the
No,
game.
I don't know. I haven't had.
He rolled his ankle
yet.
before the game, Jules. And the warm-up.
I think it was the ankle. It looked like the ankle to me. I saw it straight away on that first challenge near the touchline, and then obviously the one with the Kitike just when he came down. So, yeah, I'm expecting to hear back tonight, and it should be the ankle, I think. Yeah.
You know, when you've got a player up front like Joker is, he's willing to run the channels. He looks very cumbersome, but when you've got two big snorting centre halves, I don't think it's the wisest sort of tactic to try and sling a ball into the corner flag from where he's got absolutely nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, I think he's just got to be a little cuter about it, a little bit more guile, which, as Jules mentioned, they looked as if they had in the end when Odegaard and Eze was on. And then don't forget, they brought I think he's 15.
Yep, 15 years old.
They brought a 15-year-old on. I mean, it's quite incredible, isn't it? I mean, they had one, I think Yeri was on the bench as well. But yet this youngster comes on before him. It's a big ask, isn't it? I mean, I know he's a cracking young player and he might be some sort of superstar in the making. Who the hell knows what happens? But this is still two juggernauts, the two favourites for the Premier League going at it. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm not convinced chucking a 15-year-old on in a game like that is the best case scenario. Again, that's not my decision. That was Mikel Arteta's. But yeah, a bit of a surprise to me. As good as he is, chucking a young man on as young in that into a match with that magnitude.